Hey, what's up everyone? AC here, and just back with another ranking video, this time for Collective Soul out of Atlanta, Georgia, and post-grunge band. Talked about the greatest hits a while ago, a whole year ago now, which is pretty crazy, and obviously it was supposed to be the start of, the channel, me actually posting stuff to my YouTube channel. And then when the pandemic hit, for a while I wasn't sure, if it was kind of appropriate to just post videos. Obviously every other YouTuber kept doing their job, but I didn't know if it was like appropriate, or if that was kind of the mood or the tone that I wanted to go for. And then after a while, I started posting videos, and here we are, a year into it. So we have 12 records to rank, because I am including the very recently released Half and Half EP and also the live album from a few years back. So without further ado, we'll get right into it, because these videos always go way longer than I would like. So number 12, Youth. This one was released when they kicked out the original, well, Ed Roland is Collective Soul. Let's get that right off the bat. The whole debut was recorded with him doing everything, writing everything. He's a very talented guy, but everyone knows them for their 5-piece that lasted only about 7 years or so, but cranked out 5 studio albums and tons of hits. So yeah, this rolled around with a whole new lineup, and I guess he was the guitar tech, took over as the lead guitarist, and yeah, they shoved him out, unfortunately. So Youth is, obviously it's at the bottom, so I didn't quite think it was a return to form or anything, but there's some good tracks on it. Better Now, which lends itself as a great live song, and Counting the Days, the 2 singles, and then There's a Way, I like that one too, and Satellite. There's some good stuff on it, but it's definitely, in my opinion, the weakest. I don't think there's enough riffs on it, and I don't think they're quite as well written as Ed usually writes the guitar parts. Number 11 would be the aforementioned Half and Half, and thanks to Record Store Day, I do not have a copy, because I couldn't get out to Record Store Day. A, there was a pandemic, and B, I pretty much always work on Saturdays, so I haven't been to an RSD in about 5-6 years or so, and I'm not really a fan of how they gouge fans and collectors with exclusives and just dumb prices, and it's not really a celebration of the consumer. It's just a celebration of record labels making a lot of money off people. So I think it's a devious it's a devious thing. And this one came out on, there's 2 Record Store Days. There's Record Store Day in the spring, and now there's one on Black Friday, so they're really gouging. And the Black Friday one always has less interesting things, but on this one they released the Half and Half EP, which, despite its ranking, it's pretty cool. And I think the coolest thing about it is a cover of Neil Young's Opera Star, which was off a Neil Young record that I actually have over there, and but it isn't one that is oft talked about. It's called Reactor, and I think Opera Star was one of the highlights off the Young LP, but Collective Soul, I gotta say, this cover, I like it even more. What's bad about this Half and Half EP, and I would like to get a copy somewhere down the line, but it's only 4 songs long physically, but then finally, months and months later, they put it out on streaming services, and they added a track, so that almost makes the original copy obsolete. One interesting fact is both Ed's sons appear on the album cover. Okay, so number 10 now is going to be, where am I? Afterwards. This one right here. And this one had a really weird rollout, and I'm sure it sold the least copies because of how the weird way they did it. It was like a Target exclusive, or Best Buy, or one of those kind of franchise chain stores, and then eventually it came out and anyone could get a copy, but it was way far after the fact. And I think the record could have done a little better if they just had a regular release. Um, Obviously, Hollywood gets all the airplay, but I think that's the weakest song on the LP, and the other weakest is the other single, All That I Know. But there's really a cool kind of Cars influence to this LP, and kind of 80s kind of power pop. It's very different from their kind of post grunge mold that they would be, always lumped into, even though they did experiment with their sound. Um, yeah, but afterwards, I think the greatest ones are the deep cuts, and Hollywood is okay when they perform it live and they do that little reggae um, bridge part, which isn't on the studio cut. But yeah, I don't know. I just think of it as a lesser Collective Soul LP. When it came out, it was by far my least favorite. I didn't like it at all, but it actually grew on me. So it's not a complete loss, and it's fun to listen to. I just don't think those two singles are anything special. Um, Next up is going to be the live one, and a lot of people wouldn't throw this into the ranking, but I think as a display on the current incarnation of Collective Soul, it shows what they do live, and they definitely work it out. And it's nice to have the hits here, but also a document of the see what you started by continuing material, because I actually think that that was a strong LP that got really under promoted and underappreciated. People didn't listen to it. It didn't do all that well critically, though Collective Soul never does, even when they were very popular. They're just one of those bands, but who cares about critics anyway? I don't read them or care about anything critics have to say. Just make up your own mind, and yeah, a critic is just a failed musician anyway, right? So yeah, but it's nice to have like live versions of Heavy. Sounds amazing. That's always a highlight when I go to see them, and then also the poppy hits like Run and December, and of course Shine, the monster hit, where the crowd all goes, yeah. All right, next up is going to be Collective Soul, self-titled, also known as the Rabbit album, to differentiate from the other self-titled LP, which was like 14 years prior to this one. And this is a very transitional record for them. They were coming back after, it seemed like a long time away, but then they've had much larger breaks since. But Welcome All Again, it really, I don't know, it really hits hard, and it's like Welcome All Again because this was kind of a wider release. I feel like it probably did better than the one prior, and it's kind of a return to the Collective Soul sound. Like, sure, Shane Evans was gone, and you didn't have the guys, but I don't know, I think Ed Roland was trying to kind of write a rebirth record, or a back to the basics record, and I think he really succeeded. I think that's one of the major highlights, Welcome All Again. Fuzzy is a lot of fun. Dig is great. My Days I really like. She Does, Lighten Up. I think, again, the low lights are just the two big singles, You and Staring Down. Those ones, to me, aren't very interesting. And I think they had better ballads and slower songs. Next up in the ranking is, and I talked about this one, See What You Started by Continuing. Very underappreciated. I think this should have been a much bigger hit. The song This. Maybe they could have called it something else. Yeah, this one's a really great record. Contagious is a lot of fun. Confession, Exposed. And these songs all worked really well live. Am I Getting Through? I think Are You the Answer is the only one that it's a little better than the ballads off the previous one. And I know a lot of people really like that song. I just don't find it as engaging as the rest of the record, but I think a lot of people kind of have it as like a wedding song or a relationship song, so I can really respect that. That's cool. But yeah, I think that record should have been way more appreciated. All right, This one is, of course, the other self-titled one, and by far the biggest collective soul record. Hints did very well, but this one's like triple platinum. It has a lot of the biggest hits off it. And, it's a great record, and I'm sure some people are going to be mad that it's this low, but I just don't find it's quite as consistent as the other ones, or the ones that I'm going to rank higher. And I do like it because I got the LP that was issued just a year ago or so, and I also bought the deluxe one just to get those live tracks and acoustic live tracks, and there's one bonus track, but it's nothing to write home about. Yeah, it's cool to have the live songs in that, so obviously I like it. I bought it again. And She Gathers Rain is really cool. Where the River Flows, obviously, which was a huge hit, #1 on the rock charts. Simple's great, and of course the huge hits are great. The World I Know is just, soaring, and a great vocal by Ed. Gel is a lot of fun. First song they ever recorded as a full band, because of course the prior LP was Ed doing everything, and then they assembled this band, or he did, to play live, and that was the first thing they cut in the studio, was Gel. And December, I mean, as overplayed as it was, it's a great song. It's amazing, actually. It's a very patient song. I respect it for that. And the payoff is huge. It's a really great song. I think I said that already. Blood is the new one, and it's going to reflect everything. Such a weird choice for an album cover, especially for a band of this ilk, but not the worst album cover. Ooh, that's too shiny though, way too shiny. Oh, there they are. So yeah, this one, a lot of people wouldn't rank it so high. I love it. I think especially I should have brought the LP version out, but especially the A side is amazing. Now's the Time is a great rocker. Over Me is another great one with a soaring chorus. Crushed is a lot of fun. One of their funnest riffs and song structures ever. Right as Rain is kind of straight out of the Tom Petty way of writing songs, and it's catchy, and I think it should have done a lot better on the radio, but of course alt rock is not really a thing, and other than Foo Fighters, Green Day, and Red Hot Chili Peppers, all the legacy bands from 30, 25 years ago that were making hits back then aren't popular anymore. Only those three really are. Everything else is very electronic in that, but this should have been a huge hit. And Them Blues is great. And the whole B-side is great too, Observation of Thoughts, which they actually opened a show with like 2 years before this came out, and the audience was kind of like, and I was like, oh cool, a new song. It's a really good record. Okay, I had to check where we're actually at. #4 is Dosage. And of course this was this is their 4th record in, 4.5 years or something like that. And they were still just hitting it out of the park quality-wise, but they kind of shifted their sound a little bit here. They kind of modernized it a little bit, because the record prior, Discipline Breakdown, was kind of murky and very grungy. And by 99, new trends were coming around in music, especially rock music. New metal was starting to come in. Thankfully, they didn't start rapping or adding a DJ to the mix, but they definitely were trying a more electronic sound. This definitely has a more metallic sheen to it. Not like metal music, but there's something kind of like, there's a fresh sheen to it. And it's all the better for it, I think. I think that Heavy is obviously one of the best singles. Tremble for My Beloved is great, with a really great guitar part, and really shows the band firing on all cylinders. No More, No Less, I really like that one. And it's kind of got this funky groove to it. Needs is really meaningful. Slow is a great rocker, ironically enough. Run, of course, one of the huge hits. Generate, and Crown, and then of course the secret song, Crown Into She Said, is just great tender songwriting, and she said is so poetic, and it's so nice that they chose to put it on this record because it was on the Scream, I think it was Scream 2 soundtrack, and that seems like such a waste to put it on some dumb horror sequel movie soundtrack. Like, who really cares? But and then you have to buy it to get the song. But but yeah, it's awesome that it's a secret track on here. I think it should have just been track 12, but this was the age of artists putting secret tracks in, and you know, which is kind of a fun novelty when you're like a kid or whatever. But I don't know, it just seems so silly now or arbitrary. And then a lot of artists just put dumb things on the end of the record, but at least Collective Soul put something quality at the end there. Okay, top 3 already. Discipline Breakdown, I was just talking about this. This needs a vinyl issue. This needs to be issued so you can buy it on LP. That would be amazing. Precious Declaration, of course, one of the first Collective Soul songs I remember hearing. Listen was a great single. Full Circle, I mean, if anyone's like, oh, Collective Soul just do that post-grunge thing, that's the only sound they do, you know, play them No More No Less, or play them Full Circle. Like, that's great stuff. When it starts, it almost sounds like a Portishead song or something, and then of course the riffs come in, and it's like, oh yeah, that's definitely Ed and the boys there. The title track is great. Forgiveness is just like December, a nice patient song, amazing song. Link, Crowded Head. Crowded Head is kind of repetitious, but it works, and I don't know, all your sadness is crowded in my head, all your madness is crowded in my head. And I kind of thought that was a song about a failed or failing relationship, or like a marriage. But it's not a breakup album. It's more a breakup with your management album, because Ed was writing a lot about what happened to them, and they were mismanaged, and their manager tried to do a bunch of stuff to them. All right, number 2, Hints, Allegations, and Things Left Unsaid. Now, this record is Collective Soul in name only, and like, you know, they're there for the promo shot, but like I said before, the band was assembled to tour the record, but Ed wrote and recorded, you know, everything. And yeah, I mean, it definitely has more of a demo quality to the sound, because it was supposed to be just a demo album, and then because Shine was such a big hit, they rushed out this record, and it's like, oh, don't you want us to re-record that, or, you know, do it with the band? And no, get the product out. Sales, and you know, that a lot of people don't like it because of the sound quality is maybe just a touch under what you're used to from Collective Soul, but I think it lends itself to the songs fine. Like, they're just a little more raw, but I just really like this record. And you know, obviously Ed wasn't new to the game, so it's not like a rookie was writing all these songs, because he was trying to break out into the industry for a long time. And you know, a solo record came out, and just nothing he was doing was working. You know, he was trying for 10 years, and then finally, you know, with Shine, he wrote a massive song, and all these other great songs came out. Love Lifted Me is really great. Good Night, Good Guy, I think could have been a hit if it was promoted better. Sister You Don't Cry, or Sister Don't Cry, that's one of the highlights. That's a great song. Breathe, of course, was a single. Did okay, but didn't do well enough to make the greatest hits they put out 7 years later. Reach, there's good songwriting, great hooks, and you know, it's kind of the blueprint for everything they did. And then number 1, not many people pick this as their number 1, but Blender. I love Blender. I love it for the same reason I love Dosage that I just talked about. And that's why I don't get the criticisms towards Blender. A lot of people go, oh, they went too electronic, they changed their sound too much. But Dosage was already the start of that. This is the next logical step. Skin, Vent, and Why Part 2, those 3 songs are just an amazing intro, all great rockers, and then they go Tender with 10 Years Later, which is one of my favorite kind of slower Collective Soul songs. I just wish it were a longer song. Maybe it's a testament to how good it is, because it's about 3 minutes, but it sounds like it could be 2 minutes more. Boast, Boast has these kind of like simple, deceivingly repetitious lyrics, but it has like such a great instrumental section, and the everyone's still just on point. Like, it's so sad the band couldn't make it past here, because this lineup was something magical. It was just a really special lineup from, you know, Eponymous onward to this one. And you know, I think the band has bounced back and they've put out some great records, but you know, there's nothing like that classic era lineup. And then the pop songs are good, like Turn Around and Perfect Day with Elton John, which apparently he recorded just in a couple takes and just stunned them. And he, you know, he nailed that piano part, and Ed was just like, you know, this is how this guy makes records. What a pro. And then Over Tokyo is actually a re-recording of a song that came out right on this one. That's actually the most interesting part of this CD, is Over Tokyo is on it, and then it appears, you know, what, 10 years later or so on here. And then Happiness as the closer, probably my favorite Collective Soul closing song, and one of my favorite Collective Soul songs ever. So that's my number one. And yeah, obviously you can get two of their best songs on here that aren't on any other record, Energy and Next Homecoming. And then got a single I paid too much money for, and Will Turpin. And maybe in another video I'll bring out the LPs, but that's the ranking. And I've got another one coming up real soon, so we'll catch y'all in the next one. Take care, everyone, and feel free to put your ranking of Collective Soul in the comments. Okay, adios.